It's here first from IPR. I'm Megan McKinney. Democratic candidate for governor Rob Sand announced yesterday on 420 his support to legalize marijuana. And did you know Des Moines has the nation's oldest synchronized swimming group? We're going to hear about it later in the episode. It's Tuesday, April 21st. Members of the Iowa City community gathered for a vigil last night to lament the shooting that took place near the University of Iowa over the weekend. IPR's James Kelly reports.
People filled the pews of Trinity Episcopal Church in downtown Iowa City to hear from community leaders of different religious faiths and to bring attention to the impacts of gun violence. The group then marched to the site where the shooting took place to say a prayer and have a moment of silence. Reverend Nora Berner is the priest at Trinity. She says lament, anger, and pain are all legitimate forms of prayer.
We gather today in common grief for the epidemic of gun violence. Be with all those who suffer from the lasting trauma from gun violence and all that it leaves in their wake.
There were 5 victims of the shooting. 3 of them are still in the hospital, with 1 in critical condition. I'm James Kelly, IPR News.
State Auditor Rob Sand, the only Democrat running for governor, has released more details about his proposal to legalize marijuana. He says Iowans 21 and older should be able to buy legal cannabis in the state. Sand's plan includes restrictions on advertising and THC content, and he favors banning public use of marijuana. He's also calling for child-resistant packaging. Sand discussed this last year during a taping of Iowa Press on Iowa PBS. He says Iowans are buying cannabis in other states, and legalizing and taxing it here would help boost state revenue.
It's a drug. It's like alcohol. It can be dangerous. We should regulate and tax its use rather than pretending that we want to throw everyone in prison when we've already got a workforce crisis anyway. That would be one of the biggest single steps that we could take towards fixing that deficit.
Sand announced his plan yesterday on April 20th, the unofficial holiday for celebrating marijuana. Republican candidate for governor Adam Steen says he wants to expand state-funded education savings accounts to cover homeschooled students. Here's more from IPR's Katerina Sostarek.
The state of Iowa provides about $8,000 per student to help families pay for private school tuition. Steen, one of 5 Republicans running for governor, says protecting and expanding the program would be one of his key priorities if elected. He says that includes allowing homeschooled students to qualify for ESAs. Steen says he'd also ensure the state doesn't weaken the independence of private schools.
In a Steen administration, our independent private and Christian schools will be protected from reckless government overreach, and our students will be equipped to learn at the choosing of their parents.
Steen criticized Congressman Randy Feenstra, the likely GOP primary frontrunner, for declining to debate his opponents. He says this would be a good topic to debate because Feenstra recently said every school has to make sure they take every child. I'm Katerina Sostarek, IPR News.
Caregivers could not be disqualified from fostering or adopting due to their religious beliefs on gender identity and sexual orientation under a bill passed by the Iowa House. The bill says the Iowa Department of Health and Human Services couldn't require caregivers to follow a policy about gender and sexuality that goes against their beliefs. The department would still be allowed to consider the beliefs of the child and their birth family when deciding the best placement for the child. Democratic Representative Amy Wickendall of Hiawatha is against the bill. She says it'll force kids in already vulnerable situations to advocate for their own placements.
Think of how burdensome that is to that foster child who is already experiencing trauma, who is already going through one of the most difficult times in their lives, to have to be advocating for themselves so they don't further endure further trauma.
Republican Representative Craig Williams says the bill will help grow the number of foster care families in the state. The bill passed 58-34 and now heads to the Senate. You're listening to Hear First from IPR. I'm Megan McKinney. For a century, the Roosevelt Sharks in Des Moines has had a tradition that's been passed down through generations of women, synchronized swimming. We're going to hear about their impact in just a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back to Hear First from IPR. I'm Megan McKinney. A high school club in Des Moines is standing the test of time. The Roosevelt Sharks are the nation's oldest synchronized swimming group. IPR's Mark Curran reports that for the last century, the club has been creating a space for women both in and out of water.
More than 20 girls gather around the pool at Roosevelt High School on a Saturday morning. Their chatter echoes through the auditorium. The Roosevelt Sharks Synchronized Swimming Club is about to start an 8-hour practice for their upcoming pageant. Some wear swim caps or have their hair pulled back. Some wear goggles, although they'll be without them for the performance. Soon the girls' pointed legs are slapping and swooshing the water with each beat of the music. Time is running out before sold-out crowds fill the bleachers for the show, which marks the group's 100th anniversary.
So 1926 is when the Sharks became a club. It was the first club at Roosevelt that women could join.
Catherine Gamble is the club's director. The Sharks have been in her family for generations. She says her mom, aunt, and sister all did it, which made becoming the director an easy choice.
My whole thing is, okay, I'm part of this legacy now. How do we honor the past and then make sure it's there in the future?
Although Gamble is the club's director, she says the students are the driving force.
I have more faith in a bent leg if we end up doing it than a...
Juniors and seniors write the routines and teach the choreography for the pageant. Senior and co-president of the club, Aubrey Smith, created the finale routine this year.
It's just been so fun to be able to see it build, and now we're almost at pageant and it's looking so good, and it's nice to see how far we've come.
Smith says telling your friends what to do can be challenging.
You kind of have to tell your peers hey, I need you to listen up, listen to me. But I think it's great practice in a leadership position, and it just helps everyone work together so much.
Ownership of the pageant encourages collaboration over competition. Aristella Tempero has been a competitive synchronized swimmer since she was 5. Now she's a shark. She admires what the club has meant to the generations of women before her.
A club that was started by women for women so long ago, 100 years now, has just continued and stayed so strong and so true to its main beliefs of giving women a place to be.
The Sharks became a club decades before Title IX became law to prevent sex-based discrimination in educational settings. As the story goes, the club began in 1926 when the Roosevelt girls asked for an activity to promote swimming, diving, and water safety. Christine Bartley graduated in 1967. She says being a shark gave her a sense of purpose and ownership.
They were early adapters to having girls participate collectively in an activity. Wasn't going on much back in the day.
Bartley believes the club has lasted this long because it became a legacy for young girls at Roosevelt. The responsibility keeping the club going could seem overwhelming, but one shark says it's exactly what she's fighting for. Carly Ridner has had rheumatoid arthritis since she was 2. She says it makes being a shark a daily struggle. Medicine and physical therapy help, but joining her teammates in the pool is what she says motivates her to keep fighting. As a senior, she's proud of how far she's come.
When it's Saturday, or this year it'll be Sunday and we're done, and I'm just I did it, I made it through. And this year I'll be whoa, that was 3 years that I was able to just do that even if I was in pain.
Club director Catherine Gamble says this is why the Sharks still swim today.
We've just been here a really long time. And that's because of the girls. It's because of the alumni, and it's because of the girls in the program that never give up on it, that want to put on a good show.
While the girls prepare for their pageant, they're also raising money to refurbish the pool auditorium that dates back to 1962. They want to make sure the next generation of sharks can make waves of their own. I'm Mara Curran, IPR News.
Great reporting from our news fellow, Mara Curran. I'm Megan McKenney. Thanks for listening today, and have a great Tuesday.